Greetings and welcome to Live Talk. I am your host, Arthur Jeremiah, alongside my two co-hosts, Minister Samuel
Welcome back again to Live Talk.
and the spiritual ambassador, Yiket Zekia.
Shalom.
All right, and before we go to anything, let's go to our general statement and disclaimer. General statement. Live Talk is proudly powered by TBS Goodwill, Builders of the Highway Foundation, and Men of Purpose. Together, we're bringing about awareness to the everyday challenges facing individuals, communities, and our nation. We tell our stories, listen to yours, and always respect different perspectives. Want to share your voice? Email us at livetalkoril@gmail.com to be a guest, or if you would like to contribute to our mission, purpose, go to livetalkoril.com to give a donation. Disclaimer. Information provided during this event and others to come does not constitute the official opinion of Live Talk or its affiliate entities. It is strongly recommended that viewers seek independent expert advice regarding any topics discussed, as legal requirements differ significantly across jurisdictions and are subject to frequent changes. If you have questions or concerns, you can always email us at livetalkorl@gmail.com, or you can DM us on Facebook and or Instagram at Live Talk Orlando. All right, welcome back. And normally at this time we'll go to our pleasantries. And although I would love to hear how my brothers are doing today, I do want to recognize one of the founding members of Live Talk, Brother Shubael Yisrael, Cornelius Dawson. This brother here was very instrumental to us putting together Live Talk and just the name, because I remember when we was coming up with Live Talk, I had just finished The Spiritual Significance of a Name, and a name was very it was one of those things that was lifted up at that moment. And when we was thinking about a name of the show, Live Talk came to mind. And at that time, because live, we said, it had to have a meaning to it. So the acronym, we came up with the acronym LIVE, but the meaning of the show is Living in Vital Energy. So that was the acronym that we went with, and the brothers agreed with it. But I remember Brother Shubael, he added on to that to say the universal spirituality. And when he said that, it was just such an add-on to that, because the show was based around, yes, community activism and talking about the things in our community, but there was a spiritual side of that we also wanted to display at the same time. So, we just want to thank this brother for his music that he provided. We want to, send our prayers and our blessings out to the family, to his wife, Sabrina, who has, been by his side, was by his side the whole time he was going through what he was going through. Minister, you want to say anything about our dear brother?
It's just thinking back when you bring that up, it kind of, time surely passes quickly. Yeah. And, I know we did talk about it on a round table, but I kind of remember Shubael being very instrumental in Live Talk and Living in Vital Energy, and just bringing that energy. And like, we still use the music and the words on our show. So it's like, he'll definitely always be a part of us.
Yeah.
He's on a spiritual journey now.
Yes.
He's transitioned from one to the next. And though we honor that with, a heavy heart and deepest sympathy, we just remember the joy and the pleasantries that his spirit brought with us. It will be missed, but it will not be forgotten.
Right. And I mentioned that, I think, on one of the posts. I said, you created something that outlived you. And see, Live Talk outlives you, outlived him. So that's a beautiful thing. Yeah, it's a legacy, and he always be remembered for that. And what I want to do at this time, I want to put up, the memorial, like the flyer that his wife sent me. And for those of you that know Shubael, if you wanted to attend, if you wanted to send some out to the family, you can do so. The information is right there. And I take probably the next minute or two just to play Live Talk, the song that was created and kind of inspired by me, but perfected by him. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's do it. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? For the word of the day, the knowledge and the wisdom will increase your faith. Are you ready for live talk? Because it's about time to set it off. Are you ready? For the word of the day, the knowledge and the wisdom will increase your faith. Are you ready for live talk? Because it's about time to set it off.
Spirituality, living in vital energy, the universal language of spirituality. We're going all the way live with it. With live talk, increase your mentality, put away carnality and increase your spirituality. Let's go. Live talk.
Are you ready?
This live talk.
Are you ready?
Live talk.
Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Are you ready?
Live talk.
For the word of the day, the knowledge and the wisdom will increase your faith. Are you ready for live talk? Because it's about time to set it off. All right, so that's the theme that that we came up with, and as you can see, our brother was a huge part of that to make that a hit as it is today. So with that being said, we really miss you, bro. And, to the family, like I said, our blessings, our prayers go out to you. And, we just want to keep his memory and thoughts alive. I mean, his memory alive. Indeed. All right, family. That's going to give you a rundown of the show today. First, we'll have the minister word of today. Right after that, we'll go to a short commercial break. And then our main topic today is understanding autism, a parent's journey, strategies, and lessons learned. And then right after that, we'll go to another commercial break and we'll come back with some community news. I believe today we're going to talk a little bit about Women's History Month. And then right after that, we'll conclude with a motivational quote or reading from the host. So with no further ado, Minister, what is the word of today?
Okay, the word of today is going to be communication.
All right.
So communication is the exchanging of information. Communication is a process by which information is exchanged between individuals through a common system of symbols, signs, or behavior. Communication is the successful conveying or sharing of ideas and feelings. Now, it is said there's three parts to communication. You got the sender, the message, and the recipient. Now, there's a saying about communication, and it's very key. And it says that there is a reason that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. That is so we can listen twice as much as we speak. Communication.
All right. We're going to be talking about communication today because the topic, kind of deals around different forms of communication. So we look forward to get into that. But at this time, we're going to go to a commercial break and we're going to come back with our main topic.
What do all these people have in common besides a beautiful smile, healthy teeth, and gums? They all use Zadi toothpaste. Zadi toothpaste is made with all natural ingredients. Zadi toothpaste is fortified with moringa and baking soda. Zadi toothpaste is suds-free, making it an excellent choice for kids. All natural, fortified, and suds-free. Get yours today at noystore.com.
All right. Welcome back to Live Talk, where we dive into inspiring stories and insightful conversation that touch home with our community. And today we have a very special guest joining us, a dedicated mother and wife who has a unique perspective to share with us. She is here to open up about her journey as a parent of a child with autism, shedding light on the journey strategies and lessons learned. So get ready to be touched by her journey of love, resilience, and unbreakable connection between a mother, her son, and their family. So, with that being said, welcome to the show, my dear sister. Leticia. So, how are you, sister?
I am pretty good. I'm blessed. I am blessed. And that's the best feeling you can ever have.
Right, indeed. It's truly an honor to finally have you on the show. You know, I had the last time I had the pleasure of your husband coming on, and he shared some information with us, but I want to hear your perspective. You know, it's nothing like a mother's perspective. Well, but we're not going to get right into it. I want to just kind of open up, you know, just let the audience know who you are, um, your name, you know, just a little information about who you are.
Absolutely. Thank you. So my name is Latifa, affectionately known as Lala. Not everybody may call me that, but hey, that's the name. I have a soon to be 7-year-old actually. Fun fact, a month from today,
Mm,
my son will be 7.
mm,
And he is autistic. And of course, like anything in life, there's levels to it. So while we don't really focus on the levels, my child is nonverbal and he's developmentally delayed. And I always tell people autism is like a color, right? Like when you say the color blue, we got navy blue, we got periwinkle, we got royal blue. It's not just one thing. So you may meet someone with autism and they are super verbal. They may be a little bit lower on the spectrum. So it's a very broad spectrum. And we have to continue to remember that because you think when you meet one, you meet them all.
mm.
And that's not true.
Okay. And I read it today was communication.
Yeah, and again, welcome, Latifia or Lala. We welcome you, and because you brought that up, that was kind of one of my. Try not to get too deep in you sharing your story, but when you mentioned the spectrum, I'm glad you said it because a lot of people we hear that, and I don't know if people really understand it. So I'm glad you shared a little bit about the spectrum, how some people may perceive one thing or another, or we hear that and have no idea what that means.
Absolutely. And it just goes to show a lot of the times you think it's one and done. And when you mention something, people fight the urge and some people don't fight it. They let it take over them. They'll say, well, oh yeah, I know all about it. My nephew is autistic. Or,
Mhm.
my cousin's autistic. But they're not this child.
Mm,
Just like with anything, a different approach. So you may meet an autistic person and they're the smartest person that you've
mm,
ever met. They can just spit off facts to you and it's just like, oh my goodness. And then you'll turn around and you'll meet my son. And then you'll be like, I didn't know that. Once again, it's like the color blue. There, you can't just say blue. No, we got navy blue, we got periwinkle, we got
mhm,
light blue, we got baby blue. It's all under one umbrella. So one approach may be different from another approach. And I think the biggest thing that everyone should remember is to be open and understanding. If you lead with openness, understanding, and kindness, it wouldn't matter if it's navy blue, royal blue, dark blue. Lead with kindness, understanding, and patience.
All right. And then I want to bring Yeek Ezekiel into the conversation. I know. Um,
Yes, as she just said, you have different levels to this right here. And each child or person that has this particular affliction deals with it in different manners. So it's going to be a great joy to be able to help other families that have the same level as your son. Because I have a nephew that has that same issue. And it's tough. It's a hard job. So I definitely want to hear how you're dealing with it and the methodology that you choose to continue to strive as you have for these last 7 years.
and I think it's all like a educational, um, you know, you coming onto the show to educate us about autism is huge because there's a lot that I would need to know, because just having, family members that may go through this, um, and just knowing how, some people deal with it. So just being able to hear about it, I'm pretty sure it's going to educate a lot of people in your journey in dealing with this. So let's talk about it a little bit, in your journey in discovering, you know, Kairos, had autism. Like, what was that like? Like from birth to the time that you recognized that he had autism or was on the spectrum?
Absolutely. And I appreciate what you all the way you all are coming towards it because a lot of people say wrong, wrong, wrong. I like the way there was the affliction. And then I appreciate then there has to be education because if you don't know something, you have to find education. And a lot of the times you have to do self-education. You can't expect someone to educate you. So I'm very happy to be here to be able to shed light on that and we can just include more and more people. So from the beginning, Cairo was born, and when I tell you all, my pregnancy was amazing. No issues. It was great. That labor and delivery,
Bring it back though. Huh?
that labor and delivery was rough. And I'm not saying it for sympathy or anything, but I barely made it.
Mm,
I barely made it. And I'm actually going to, if it's okay, I'm going to go ahead and tie in a little bit of women's health into that
no, I like that.
because,
Mhm.
and once again, as Black women giving birth to children, we do not get the same treatment. They knew something was going on
Mm.
because I was in labor for so long. I went into labor on Saturday morning at 2 a.m. I didn't have Cairo until Monday evening.
Wow.
Mm,
Absolutely. Wow.
mm,
Wow. Because there was some complications going on, but no one they know. They
mhm.
know what's going on. After I had Cairo, that's when I almost lost my life
Oh, goodness.
because I had postpartum preeclampsia. That's when your blood pressure goes up so high. I called the doctor and my body was retaining fluid. So I make an example like when Squidward ate all of those Krabby Patties and his legs got super, super large.
Mhm.
That was me. I called the doctor. Do you know what the doctor told me? If you think you're having an issue, call the ambulance.
Mm,
So I went in for my 2-week checkup and I couldn't even drive myself. Of course, my husband had to stay home
right,
with the baby.
right.
I couldn't drive myself, so I had to take an Uber. I get to the doctor. He goes, "Oh my goodness, your blood pressure is so high. You need to go to the emergency room right now." But what about when I called you?
Right.
So they rushed me in, and well, my mom came and got me, and she rushed me to the hospital. And they said, "There's no way you're going home." So they had to put me on an aggressive medication that you can only take for 24 hours. Anything after 24 hours, you start having complications. I said that to say, had they noticed that I was retaining fluids prior to rushing me into the operation room, they could have said, "She's retaining fluids. What's going on?" I keep filling up this cup. Why isn't she releasing these fluids? So it all started there. And then they finally got me in, and my blood pressure went down. And 2 days later, I was able to go home. But that's the thing. Had everyone did what they were supposed to do, I wouldn't have had to do all of that.
Right.
I honestly made it to the hospital and everything by the grace of God. They don't listen. I'm trying to tell them, and I kept saying, I'm so thirsty. I'm so thirsty. And they're just like, I brought you something to drink.
Right.
I drank it. And I'm
It's not
still
working.
Right.
thirsty. Even when I was having because I had to have an emergency C-section,
Okay.
I'm telling the doctor, I'm thirsty. You can't have anything to drink.
Mm.
What do you want me to do?
Right.
Like, I'm telling you, I'm thirsty. So most moms, they talk about their first meal. I chugged a cup of ice water. I mean, chugged a cup of ice water. So that was that. And then, as things started to progress, you see certain things. You're like, wait a minute, my son, he doesn't do this yet. Or I haven't heard my son call me mom yet. That's a big milestone.
Right.
That mama, usually it happens at daycare, right? And then you have to wait for your turn. Or that dad. Or like the simpler things, like you should tell a child, go get that. Bring that to me. No. When I call my son's name, the people like to say, oh no, he can't hear. Watch this. So I'll go get a bag of cookies. That's his favorite. All of a sudden, he'll run towards you to get the cookies. So it's not that he can't hear. That was the biggest thing. They're like, oh, we think he can't hear. Let me show you something. So then, I'll turn down his favorite show really, really low. And all of a sudden, he'll run towards me. But he doesn't respond to his name. So there's just little things that you start to see. And all of a sudden, like anything, those little things make up the big things. Now, all of a sudden, he's not talking at all. He's not communicating at all. While he's at school, he's not playing with his classmates. They're over here playing together, and he's all the way over here. When it comes to changing to go to a transition, okay, so we're going from playing with letters, and now we're going to go play with, I don't know, colors. He has the hardest time with that transition. So all of those little things, it comes to a point where you can't ignore those things.
Right.
And that self-education that we're talking about, right? Let's go look it up, because you can't keep sweeping it underneath the rug.
Right.
So that's how it starts.
No, education. Your people telling you that he can't hear, but you know he can hear, and people trying to offer you information, but it's not correct because he can hear fine.
Oh, absolutely.
He's having a different situation.
Absolutely. It's the responding to the name, right? You should be able to tell your child, hey, Cairo, come here. Or Cairo, he hears you. He heard you the first time. Whether he's going to respond or not. And then a lot of people say, oh, your child doesn't listen, or your child is difficult, or your child is hard-headed. They start putting those stigmatisms on them. And it's like, slow your roll. No.
Yeah.
It's something else.
So you take them in, get a diagnosis. What are your emotions like at that time?
I died that day.
Mm.
And it was required, because everything you thought you can do, that's it. Because we all have that. When you find out you're pregnant, and you find out you're having a certain gender, you start getting these, oh, I can't wait to do this. And I was so excited. I wanted to be a soccer mom.
Right.
I wanted to do karate. I was just like, let's get it. Oh my goodness. I got plans. And even I just had all of these notions that I wanted to do. All of that had to go away. And that's why I say I died that day. And it's not like, oh, what happened? Like, that was it. At that moment, I realized I can no longer be a caterpillar. I got to be a butterfly.
So, like, when you don't mind if you remember, when did you saw signs, but when did you know, like you're saying officially, when did you know that he actually had autism or have it diagnosed?
I know the exact day. It was May 5th. It was May 15th. I'm sorry. Because the thing about it is there is a process. It's not just like, oh, okay, let's do this. you have to get referrals.
Okay.
So I took him for his yearly checkup to his doctor, his pediatrician, and I pulled it to the side. I said, listen, I think, because already did my education, I did my research and I did my prayer. And I said, I think my child is autistic. And she goes, okay. And she said, stay right here. And she brought me a list of references. And then she gave me a reference. Like, you know, you got to take a reference everywhere. You think something's wrong with your toe, your main doctor has to refer you to the toe doctor. You can't just walk in and be like, hey, my toe hurt.
Right.
So we got that. And then now it's up to the parents because you have to do all of the legwork. You got to call those places. You have to get the appointments. Long story short, I found a behavioral specialist and we took them in. They came in and it's just like like how we are right here. And they're just evaluating him. And then afterwards, they tell you. And they provide you with the form of an official diagnosis because it has all of the codes that you're going to need. It has everything because once you do, you can't just walk into an office and say, help me. You need the code for your insurance because now they have to have that diagnosis code, which is like F169, something like that. And that's going to be able to get you that. So they tell you right away. Then they tell you to have a nice day.
How old was Kyrie when that happened?
3.
He was 3. So it took you 3 years to get an official code of diagnosis.
It's really hard in those first 3 years because you have what the Board of Health says your child is supposed to be, and then you have what your child actually is, and then you have, you know, the likelihood of how it usually is. Now, they have changed the stages of everything, you know, because by like 6 months, your child should be holding their own bottle is what I mean. So as they're growing up, you're just like, oh, they take a little while to walk. You'll hear somebody say, oh, my kids started walking at 6 months. My kids didn't start walking until 14 months. It doesn't mean that your child has something different about them. It maybe just took them a little bit longer to get it. So that's why that 3-year-old mark is so hard to tell because they're still developing. They're still going through the motions. So at 3, I said to myself, and I told God, I said, God, I'm going to give him until he turns 3 years old. And that's what I did.
I'm asking, and Brother Yikiziki, I'm gonna let you chime in, but how important is to get a diagnosis? Because in our community, I'm just gonna speak in our community. I know when you have children, and if someone was to tell you that you're gonna be in denial, and you're going, ain't nothing wrong with my child, he's just acting like any other child, you know. But you was very like keen to really address or just be able to depict some of the things that were just at normal at that time that wasn't, you know, something that most children, like you say, you did your research, which was beautiful, because anytime we bring a child into this world, it's our duty as parents to make sure that we you know, we take care of them, we make sure that they're in the best you know, health, etc. How important is it to get that diagnosis and not to feel as if it's okay to ignore it, because that's what we do sometimes.
Most importantly, early intervention is best with anything, right? And now you hear that everywhere. If you can catch it, you can help make it better. And the importance of the diagnosis is so he can get the proper care. Because if you know a child that maybe has like a speech impediment and you get them into speech therapy, then they'll know, okay, we're working with you on your speech impediment. But the thing is, you want to get that for multiple reasons. Because right now, you're at the beginning stage. And it's going to be a marathon. One day you'll be running, one day you'll be swimming, one day you'll be doing gymnastics. That diagnosis is important because it's required to get the things that the child needs. We're talking IEP, which is an individual education plan. We're talking about getting them into schools. We're talking about getting them the proper therapy and the proper therapy for your insurance to cover it, because it's going to be different. And if need be, you're going to have to get things like diapers. Some of our children, including mine, they're not potty trained.
Mm.
And depending on your insurance, if you can get a diagnosis and then you'll get a medical diagnosis, they may cover diapers for you.
Okay.
That's every parent's dream, right? Oh, we're done with diapers. I ain't gotta buy no more diapers. No,
Right.
we still gotta buy diapers. So you get that to get the help that you need. And it's important to know that the diagnosis does not define your child.
Mm.
It's to help your child. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't want that to be known, or I don't want that. No, you need that.
Mm-hmm.
You need that.
Brother Ezekiel, you want to?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's similar to, as you said, if I stub my toe, I need to go to a doctor to be able to get some type of diagnosis so he can describe or prescribe me some type of solution to the issue. So as you're saying that your child is lacking in certain qualities that behavioral scientists said they should have already developed, then it's super important that you just don't think that, okay, he could be develop or she could be developing this at a later date and time. When you see those signs, you definitely need to start going ahead and making the proper preparations to be able to get a diagnosis. Now, in your case, once you got the diagnosis, and from your research, what has been the biggest lessons that you have had to implement to be able to help better your child's behavior? As you say, if he's not potty trained, is there going to come a time that he can become that? Or is this something that's just as is? So what are you doing as a parent to, again, make life easier for yourself and to see if you can develop your child? You say he's developing at a slower rate than normal, but will he eventually be able to get where he needs to be?
With prayer, absolutely. That's my biggest goal. And to get where he needs to be is patience, understanding, and not giving up. Now, with not giving up, that doesn't mean that you don't take a rest. Because as we do potty training, there are times where it's like, okay, let's give this a rest and let's move on to the next goal. And it's just having patience and understanding. Because if I'm frustrated, he
Mhm.
has to be
Right.
frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm sitting here frustrated, and honestly, I'm not frustrated by the potty training. I wish that he wouldn't have to wait on me, but how does he feel waiting on me to get his diaper changed?
Mm-hmm.
That must be frustrating. So you know what? Instead of being upset about it, I just talk him through it. And it's okay, buddy. We'll get there. But right now we're here and it's going to be okay. I think a lot of people just have to be more patient, be
Mm-hmm.
more understanding. And I say it all the time, and be more understanding, because it's that empathy that's going to go a long way. Once again, if I'm frustrated because I have to change your number 2 diaper, I know you're frustrated by having that on your body,
Mm-hmm.
because after a while that gets uncomfortable,
Right.
right? Even if I try to catch it right when you're done, it's the fact that you have to stand there, because he's not going to sit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Stand there and have that poop on you. That's frustrating. So I
Mm-hmm.
just want to be a part of the solution versus adding to the problem is where I'm getting to.
Now, is that one of the biggest challenges for you at the time, or are they others?
No, that's one of the least of my
Oh,
problems,
okay.
honestly. And that sounds silly, right? But
Mhm.
it's just certain things that you accept. Hey, buddy, if he could tell me, I know he could, and that leads to what is the thing that's the most complicated? The word of the day,
Mhm.
communication,
Yeah.
right? Communication. A lot of the times, think about when you go pick your kid up from school. What's the first thing you ask them?
How you doing?
Mhm. Yeah. How was your day, buddy? The teacher has to tell me how his day went.
Mhm.
And it's that communication. Um, when he's sick, you can kind of you expect your child to come up to you. right? The parent always dreads that 2 o'clock in the morning. My stomach hurts.
Mhm.
I don't know until we're vomiting now.
Right.
And it's that communication.
Right.
And he does really well. And I want to go into that as well about his types, his ways of communication. But that's the biggest thing. Like, I never know.
Mm.
Because we expect our children to tell us if someone's mistreating them. You're going to tell me.
Right.
If you're thirsty, you're going to tell me. You know, if you need something, you're going to tell me. So that's, to me, it's the communication.
Okay, that's the most challenging.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
So how have you actually developed that to where he is now? I'm sure you have a means of communication, but like, how do you actually navigate that with his verbal skills not being what you would make it easy? It's like, do you have to like go through certain steps? Is it things that you look for, you listen for?
I study Cairo like somebody who's trying to get their master's degree.
Mm.
I can tell by looking at him. And it's funny because my husband always says, y'all got something going on. And I can't explain it. Other than I think it's because we spend a lot of time together. I can anticipate what Cairo is getting ready to do before he does it. And I said, don't do that. And he'll look at me like, how does she know? Or sometimes like he'll do something and somebody else will see it. And they're like, what is he trying to say? He wants you to move that.
Mm.
And they'll be like, how do you know? I don't know. But he wants you to move that. Go ahead and move it and see what happens. So him and I just have this special connection. And it's scary,
Mm.
but it's just like it's amazing because even when we go to the store together and we're all together, and I'll say, "What do you want from the store, buddy?" And he'll go down the aisle and he's looking, and he'll be looking around, and I know in that moment I know exactly what you're looking for, and I'll get the cookies and I'll put him. I say, "You want this, buddy?" And he'll put him in the basket, and it's just like, okay. And then there are other times where he can, and I don't mean tell like verbally. He's a hand leader. So if he takes your hand, he'll take it to the door. I'm ready to go. Or if he brings you his bag, he's ready to go. We've been working on instead of just going to the kitchen and standing in front of the fridge, I need you to bring me your cup. So he'll bring you his cup. And then sometimes if I'm, busy at work and he's ready for a diaper change or something, he'll bring me a diaper. He doesn't really do that often because he know, if you can do that, we can get you on the potty, brother.
Right.
Um,
Telling on yourself there.
so, but it's just one of those things. It's just watching and doing more than watching. Just he can be sitting next to someone and they'll kind of like try to give him a hug. He doesn't want a hug. He
Mm.
can't tell you, but I can. I can tell you right now, he's uncomfortable.
Mm.
He doesn't want that. Or I can put him on a pair of pants and he won't tell me, but I can tell like you made a little bit of a funny face when I pulled those pants on you. You don't like them? And then he'll finally look at me like, no, I don't.
Mm.
Okay, let's take them off. Get you some new ones.
Now I hear you say buddy a lot. Does he respond to that a lot? Do you call him by his name, or do you use buddy?
I use buddy. I use a combination of all kinds of stuff.
Okay.
And that goes into it as well because I do this thing like when I know for him to know that hey, what you're doing has to stop, I'll say, hey man,
Okay, so that's a different type of communication then.
absolutely.
So
He's picked up on that.
he has to be picked up on
Absolutely.
that by now.
Amen.
You
No
can
more.
think it's open for you, sir.
Yeah, that's like she said. That was gonna be my question. What system has you created that allows y'all to communicate on the level? So you explaining, due to your diligence of watching his behavior, you've come to an understanding to know certain things that he likes or that he doesn't like. So how has your family responded to that right there? Have they picked up on those cues also?
Not quite. And it's no fault to anyone because once again, it's new. I didn't say this, but I'll go ahead and say it now. From my understanding and from what I know, Cairo is the first autistic child on both sides of our family. So my husband's side of the family, my side of the family, and we're going to take it even deeper. My mom's side of the family and my dad's side of the family that I have been able to come into contact with. Of course, there are many people who are walking around undiagnosed, right? There's no way for us to know until they get their diagnosis. But a lot of the times they just talk to me. Y'all can talk to Cairo. I'm gonna look right at the camera. Talk to Cairo. He understands. But a lot of the times, they're like, hey, she knows. So they don't get it. And it's like I said, it's no fault to anyone, but they know, just talk to Cairo's mom. Talk to mom and she'll do it. And I will. So they haven't picked up on that, in short, no.
Do you think it's a form of them not trying to be disrespectful and trying to respect?
Absolutely, because they don't know, right? They don't know Cairo like I know Cairo. And that's okay. But a lot of the times they'll come up to him and they'll say, hi, Cairo. Cairo, run away. Like, excuse me. Cairo, run away.
It seems like you and him have a connection. Not that his husband, not that Herman don't, but it seems like y'all have how shall I say, a unique connection. And even his father may not have that same connection, but that might be normal for Cairo.
I think it's normal for anybody. And as anybody who has children, especially in that very young age, all they want is their mom, right?
Yeah.
They'll walk right past dad, and it's just like, oh my goodness, I'm using the bathroom. Why did you walk right past dad? He is sitting on the couch. Dad knows how to open a fruit snack. Okay. So I don't think it's like different like that. I think it's just in the beginning because once again, everybody just gravitates
He
towards
still
mom.
got that mommy instinct.
Oh, absolutely.
Just like a child without autism.
Absolutely. Always mommy. Always. But then again, it's dad too, because he knows that certain things, because me and Cairo, we spend a lot of time together. The only time we're not together is when he's in school, because I work from home. So even when he's not at school, he's with me. And that's the only time him and I, or, I'm here when I go grocery shopping, things like that. But we spend so much time together, and that's how I'm able to pick up on those things, right? So I don't think it's like any fault to anybody. That's just how it is. Kids walk right past dad. And the only thing I will say is I'm a little bit more strict with Cairo because I know better. He gets away with a lot of stuff because people are like, oh, he's different. He understands. And I challenge him on that. And that's why a lot of the times he'll go straight to dad. But I challenge him. I know you know better. I'm not going to give you that little bit of leeway. No, because you know better. And we all know when you know better, you do better. And I expect you to do better, buddy.
Sound like Carol sneaky.
Hey, he's a kid, right? He's a kid. He is a kid. And, he's extremely tall. And he's extremely athletic. I mean, to the point where I'm just like, bro, how can you do that? So he uses his abilities. That's a lot of times a lot of people only see a disability and they count out those abilities. That's a mistake. Yeah. That's a big mistake that you're making. So that's what it is. It's more of just like with her, I don't have to do too much. She already knows. I can think it. I think she's in my head. I can think it and she sees it versus if I go to this person, one, they're not going to understand me. Two, I'm going to get frustrated because why don't you understand me?
Right.
And I can go to her and she understands me. So now I'm frustrated because I can't get what I want. And now I'm frustrated because I keep telling you what I want and why can't you give it to me?
Right. Ms. Law, once you got this diagnosis and over these years, the qualities that you say that a parent should have, where were you with those qualities prior to learning about the autism as opposed to the development of those qualities at this moment right here?
I'm not afraid to say I didn't have those qualities. I didn't have patience because in our community, when you tell a child to do something, they're supposed to do it.
Right.
Mhm.
And, you know, I didn't have patience. I didn't have understanding. I didn't have any of that. And that's why I'm really big on that part of me died because what I thought I can do and what I wanted to do, goodbye.
Mm.
I can't, and even with Cairo, when you talk to him, you got to talk to him nice because if you say it in a certain way, he's not going to do it.
Mm.
And he demands for you to be patient with him because if you're not patient with him, now you have a meltdown that's getting ready to trickle up. And you thought you were having a hard time right now, both of y'all getting ready to cry.
And you say that, and it's real important because I heard you mention about the IEP, and I'm gonna slow down and backtrack about how important that is, and like for especially for another parent who may be discovering this with their child or in denial, and we know oftentimes with our children, we'll say things about the system, will say things about their behavior, and if your child is on the spectrum and they have issues, you have to have this, otherwise your child will get labeled on something that they're not, and then they go miss out on the education that they should be getting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And for example, Cairo can't sit down. So, you know, you can walk into a classroom and you be like, oh my goodness, all your kids are sitting in their chair. They're listening. No, he won't sit. You won't be able to even get your lesson in. And then they're going to say, your child is so disruptive. My child isn't disruptive. He just doesn't learn like the rest of that class. So you have to talk to somebody in a way that they can understand. That's with anything, right? And that's the thing about this. A lot of times people are like, oh, it's so complicated, it's so different. If you take the time to look at it, you will see that even if you have multiple children, you know that one of your children you can talk to and you can tell them something and they'll get it right away.
Mhm.
Then you have another one of your children where you have to say step 1, step 2, step 3, you have to tell them everything. And then you have another child where you don't have to tell them anything, they can see it and they can go do it.
Mhm.
Same thing. Same thing. Now that's not to say that any of the children that you have are bad or they don't listen. It's just that everybody has a process. You can yell at one child and they'll do it right away. You can yell at another child and they're going to go ahead and they're going to challenge you. You know that I got to talk to child A real soft like. See, but child B, you got to talk to him like,
You gotta raise your tone.
yeah, you got to talk to him like you getting ready to fight him. You're not going to fight him, but you got to talk to him a certain way. Same thing. Same thing. And it's just a different type of learning. It's different. And you can't expect to put this autistic child with a developmental delay in a classroom with 30 other children.
That
Okay.
don't have a developmental delay.
Absolutely.
And the fact that if you're aware of that, there's this mechanics are in the system for your child, but you got to make sure that they're getting it. Otherwise, they go label them as disruptive.
Absolutely. We have to advocate for your children at all times. At all times. Because if you don't, you're doing a disservice to yourself and most importantly, your child.
So what that look, I guess, because we're talking about education and being in the classroom, what that look like from a medical standpoint as far as advocating for?
It's exhausting. Because that IEP that we're talking about, that meeting is every year, once a year at a minimum.
Mm.
It's not just like, oh, okay, we do it once. No, because you get the initial it's so many evaluations.
Sound like it's a lot.
It is a lot, but it's one of those things where it's just like it's more inspiring to me because it takes you to your limit. I didn't think I can do all of this. Now, honestly, I wouldn't know what I would be able to do with my life without all of this
Mm,
because it keeps me so on point.
mm,
It keeps me so together. And it's just like, what would I be doing if I wasn't doing this? Like, how would I fill my brain with all of this?
mm.
And is it exhausting to always be on go? Yes, but I wouldn't know what to do if I wasn't always on go. Like, I would have to get another hobby.
Hmm.
Well, so what's with that being said, what are some moments of joy or growth have you have stood out the most during this journey?
Um, I have to pick one. Let me see. It's to see it's to see it just all click. It can all get just see it all come together. To be able to learn more about Cairo,
Mm,
to be able to understand. Because once again, that diagnosis for everybody, it gets so in the way. He has a favorite color. He loves sea animals in the aquarium, right? He just it's just to see the normal things come into play, right? It's to see when his favorite song comes on and he's doing a dance. It's to see him when I bring in a bag of Cheetos when I snuck out the house to go grocery shopping, and I bring him back a bag of Cheetos, and he's like, "How did you know I wanted these Cheetos?" And he just pop them open right there and start eating them. It's to see, despite all of this, he's happy. He's one of the happiest people you will ever meet.
Okay.
He is so happy. And it's like to the point where people they look at him and they be like, "How do I get that?" Gotta get the tism, man. Gotta get the tism. So it's just to see that through it all that he doesn't give up. And it's so inspiring.
mm.
So, are you part of a group or a community with other parents with the children with this same autism? Do y'all bounce ideas off each other?
Yes, I'm not as involved as I could be, but there are many, many different groups out there through Facebook. Um, Also, as our children go to school, you'll meet a few parents within the therapies that our children go to. Some children go to therapies where they'll be there for upwards of 8 hours. So you'll have that community there. Of course, you have your village, right? Because the village that you thought you had, or for me, the village that you thought you had, especially when there's no background on it,
Mhm.
is dismantled.
Mm,
So now you have to build a new village. And within that new village, you have your specialists, you have your teachers, you have your therapists, you have your just the parents. It becomes an entire new village because they don't know us like we know us.
mhm.
And while everything is different, they just don't know us like we know us. So as you continue to go on, you'll pick up those relationships, you'll pick up those groups, and all of a sudden it's like, man, this is my village right here. No disrespect to my original village, but this is my son's village.
Well, I wanted to ask or talk about that tough question, and hopefully you can answer and share. Because I know within our community specifically, we have this stigma about, I'm going to use the term that, like, if you have an autistic child or something's wrong with your child, everybody want to point fingers like you did something, or your husband did something, or what did you drink, or you must have been taking some drugs, or it's always something that you did, and now you got to bear all of this shame and guilt. Like, how do you deal with that or get past that?
I wanted to take a sip of drink before I went into that. I want to start off by saying that you didn't, no one did anything wrong when it comes to autism. Um, it's been proven. A lot of people like to say, oh, it was them vaccines. Incorrect. You didn't do anything wrong. You can line up a mom who did drugs, who did drinking and everything, and then you can line up a mom who didn't do anything but take her prenatals, go to her doctor's appointments the way she was supposed to. That child is normal. And then you have the autistic child. Mom, dad, you did not do anything wrong. That's first things first. You didn't do anything wrong. If you went back and did it all over again and went through it with a fine tooth comb, you didn't do anything wrong. As of right now, they do not know what causes autism. They do know that it's not vaccines. That's first things first. And honestly, it's hard to get over that because people always say wrong, wrong. I like that you brought that up. Nothing is wrong with your child. Nothing is wrong with your child. Your child is just different. There's nothing wrong with your child. You're just not going to have to find different ways to be able to assist them. And if you love your child like you should, because how can you not? How can you not? Then you're going to support them in every way that you can. So that's the first thing you got to get out of your head. That's the first step in all of it. The moment you get your diagnosis, you didn't do anything wrong. You couldn't have prevented this. But now that you do know something is different about your child, it is your duty to advocate for them, to assist them, to support them, and get them what they need to be their best self.
I think we got time for about 2 more questions. Do we have anybody chiming in on the chat? We got time for about 2 more questions. We're gonna go to a break. Minister, brother, you can.
Yeah, I have a question. With the diagnosis, how did that change the economics of your family?
It changed a lot because, once again, everybody's trying to figure out what did I do wrong. As a mom, I comb through my brain like, what did I do wrong? Did I eat too many pickles? Did I do this? Did I take the wrong prenatals? Did I do this? And then, of course, I can't really speak on my husband, but I can speak off what I felt and what I seen. He was trying his best to support me while also still running through his brain. Did I do enough? Did I bring her enough pickles? Did I do this? Did I do that? So he's running through his brain because we're trying to figure out, how did we get here? How did we get here? So it does change the dynamic a little bit because you have one person going, we're both going through it while trying to support one another. And then you have the outsiders, and it's not a bad thing, but you have the insiders, mom, dad, the family, and the child, and then you have the outsiders, and that's grandparents and everybody else. They're just like they're almost walking on pins and needles because they don't know what to do. Right. They don't know how to help, especially if there's no one there. They don't know what to do. They don't know what to say. They're almost at a loss. So everything stops, but it has to keep going at the same time.
Now, yeah, another question, because I was going to let you share that scripture that you talked about. And also just share with the parents and like anybody that's going through this, a beginner, like what are you sharing with them?
Well, first things first, it's always easier said than done, right? Look at when you're making mac and cheese. It's, you boil the noodles, do this, do that. Then all of a sudden you get in there and you're like, oh my goodness. So it's easier said than done. But just more recently, I read within the last year, I got more into my Bible because I couldn't do any of this. I'm a living, walking testimony how God has just come into my life and said, if you trust me, I got you. But I need your undivided trust. Even when you are crying and you're hyperventilating and you are in the fetal position, I need you to trust me. So I read my Bible as often as I can. I try to read it every day. And I read random verses. So I was reading the book of John, and it's in chapter 9. And it was about this blind man. And he was born blind. And one of the disciples asked him, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he is blind? And Jesus responded, neither one of them sinned, but this man is blind so people can see the works of God in him.
Mm.
And that's exactly what I mean. I can't remember who asked me, did you have any of these attributes prior to the diagnosis? I didn't have patience.
Mm.
I had to learn patience.
Mm.
I didn't have understanding. I had to learn understanding. I call him my little disciple all the time, my little angel, my little disciple. Everybody calls their child an angel. Mine is truly an angel. And I had to learn patience. I had to learn kindness. And that allows it to keep going, because now, you know what? I'm more patient with others.
Mm.
I'm kinder to others. And it just allows you to say, you know what? Be the change, because I want people to be kind to my child. So I'm going to be kind to you. And it's not to say you're going to get something to give something, but you have to be the example. And that's what I mean. So people can see the works of God. Now I find other ways of communication. Now I'm more patient. Even when I'm driving, I can get a little weird, but I'm like, hey, be more patient, be more understanding. And that's what it is. So now I have those attributes and I can continue to build on them and build on them. So in reality, Cairo has taught me more than I've taught him.
Mm.
Okay.
And your husband kind of shared the same sentiments when he came as well. And it's a lot more questions that we probably want to ask in regards to this here, but we're coming up on the end of that part of this show. You're gonna hang around with us. We're gonna talk a little bit about Women History Month.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, so we're gonna go to a commercial break and we'll be right back.
Because Scott & Associates always treats me like family, I refer my family to them. So when preparing for my taxes and I know exactly what to bring in coming in, it makes the process so much easier. Anyone should hire Scott & Associates because they are professional, respectful, and very knowledgeable. And with all of my heart, I can always count on them.
This just in, breaking news out of Miami, the city of Yahweh. The Passover, Feast of Unleavened Bread, is back. Mark your calendars for April 1st through the 8th. This extraordinary event is a spiritual experience like no other, uniting the nation of Yahweh for 8 unforgettable days of faith, fellowship, and celebration. Make sure to be there in person for the on-site celebration on April 4th, 5th, and 6th. Don't miss this divine opportunity to reconnect, rejoice, and keep the law of Yahweh. Also, to honor the sacred teachings of our Messiah, Yahweh ben Yahweh. Join the nation of Yahweh in Miami, the city of Yahweh, for the Passover and Feast of Unleavened Bread. It's a celebration of unity, history, and the spirit of Yahweh. Hope to see you there.
All right, welcome back. At this time, we switch it up a little bit. We get into our community news or update for today. And I believe we have with us Miss Finance Pro. Miss Finance Pro, are you there?
Good afternoon. I am here. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am, indeed.
Okay, perfect. Well, it's always great to be in the studio with you all. A great topic, by the way. It's always good to be educated on the things that you don't know about. And I feel like autism is a newer conversation. I'm not sure if 20 years ago we just didn't have the diagnoses correct, which is why it's now being talked about. But I'm definitely happy to learn. And to go into the segue of that, when it comes to news, this month actually marks the 45th annual celebration of Women's History Month.
Yay. Give a round of applause.
And I
to
want to
that.
give a background to that because Women's History Month was actually enacted in 1980 by then President Jimmy Carter. But even further back from that, it became a spinoff and a push because at first we only had Women's or International Women's Day. It's where women all over the world were celebrated for just a day, which is March 8th. And then some educators in California got together and did a push for Women's History Week. And the backstory with that is the educators realized women were not being written anywhere, not in our history books. And if you make a good observation, you don't hear a lot about women's, even in our Bible, what we hold so near and dear to us. So there was a push and a narrative to put women back in history and to recognize us for the credits that we have made to society. So women's history is not just about celebrating individual achievements. It's about challenging the historical narrative, which often marginalizes or erases women's experiences and even women's rights. So, of course, like anything, learning this history is important so that it will, one, not repeat itself, because we don't want to go back to a day where women could not vote, where women could not have a bank account, or where women could not even own a home or hold certain jobs and titles. And two, we want to learn this so that we can formally recognize the roles that women have played in society and in also contributing to our history. So, by celebrating or highlighting the contributions of women, it continues to advance us in science. It will continue to advance us in politics and just about every other field. And of course, inspire the next generation of women and young girls. So, how does one celebrate Women's History Month? I'm so happy you guys asked me that question. I encourage you all to celebrate by one, picking up a book, watching a documentary, visiting a museum, or here's even the funnest part, simply have a conversation with a phenomenal woman in your life and take the time to learn of her story, why she was passionate about doing whatever she did that you found phenomenal, and make sure that you keep her story and her efforts alive. And lastly, let's make sure that we honor and recognize women and their contribution to society, not just monthly, but every single day.
All right. We appreciate that, Miss Finance Pro. And it is Women History Month. And the beautiful thing about it is what, 5 weeks in this month?
Yes,
So
this is
yeah. So it's pretty long this month. So we get to talk about it all month. If I had to recognize someone, I definitely have to recognize my mother, who I feel like came through the struggle, um, didn't, uh, finish ninth grade. I think she made it to ninth grade in high school. She went to Jones, the old Jones High, back in the days, but had to work. Had to get out and do what she had to do to help the family, etc. But a woman that dear to my heart and inspired me. So definitely, and then I have to highlight my beautiful wife. Being a woman of
well, thank you.
a prestigious woman. We always say like the alpha, male. When we talk about males, he's the alpha female. So I do want to highlight them two women in my life, and then all women. I think women, came a long ways and suffered a lot, and just to see you know uh, how women are coming together today. I think women are coming together, more than men are. And when I'm talking about Black women. in our community. And I don't see a lot of us coming together as men, but I see a lot of our women coming together, and it means a lot, to see that. So kudos to all our sisters that are doing some great things.
Thank you for that. And I love the era of women in celebration because there has been a social push, especially among Black women, to be okay with being with what we're calling now our soft era. And what that soft era means is that, for too many times, we've had to fight and we fought alongside just about everybody. When it came to, Black rights, we are right there side by side with our brothers fighting for the equality. Then when women, we know those women that came to calling, we were there leading the push for women's rights. And then, of course, as the women, we're leading in our household and we are leading in our communities. But oftentimes, especially when it comes to a woman who was deemed alpha female, she had to be strong, but not too strong. And oftentimes, she's going to face the worst criticism than any other woman because how dare you speak up? It looks like a form of disrespect when all we're trying to do is accomplish, equality. So it's just nice that in this era where people are recognizing that, you know, it appears that we are coming together. We are coming together, but we're coming together in a way to just say, sis, I see you. I hear you. You can take that cape off. Let's both soak our feet. Let's relax. And you know what? You don't have to hold yourself up by yourself anymore. I'm right here. You know what? Put your arm on my shoulder. We're going to hold each other up. I got you and you got me. And I love that push for us because I know that if we can show that love and support to each other, it's going to move us. It's going to move a mountain to what's to come. Because when sisters are supporting sisters, that means we got y'all next. And if we got y'all next, it's a community. It's a community. So
Indeed.
our next generation, our future is looking good just on the push of the narrative that we are learning it's okay to lean on each other.
All right. Anybody else want to chime in on that?
Oh, yeah,
Most
no.
definitely, with
Go ahead, sir.
being the Black Woman's Month, as these women have said, women have come a long way in their fight for equality in every aspect. So it definitely should be celebrated. They should be given their kudos for showing resilience and continuing to push for what should be rightfully given to them. The woman has the greatest job on earth, which is shaping and molding the mind of the future. So that in itself should have gave them above equality. And then with them being in the background, with them being not put in the historical sense, even though they was right there giving the advice to the men. And had they been in positions of power, a lot of the problems that the world has gone through would never have occurred because they bring a logic that men just don't see. So it's definitely great. I have two particular women that I definitely want to give and that I champion for their extraordinary qualities in overcoming tribulations in their life to be able to still stand and know that no matter what they're going through, they have their children that still look up to them. They have their children that still need them. So even though she going through it, she still armors up enough to where she's still able to take care of her family. And as you grow up, you see the struggles that your parents, especially your mother, may be going through, especially if she's a single mother. You see that. And you want to be able to take that burden off of her shoulder instead of adding to it. So for the women out there that's standing up, continue to stand up, and your works are now being identified and you're going to get your glory. So they're great that they have a particular month now, but as the sister said, this is something that need to be advocated and championed on a daily basis because, you know, being a mother is a full-time job.
Indeed.
Yeah, when we have to really recognize, like, it's good that we can talk about Women's History Month, specifically women of color, and the thing that we do, because all of us, that's connection that we have with our mothers. And if you believe in the Most High, you have to understand that He put His attributes and His qualities in all of us. He put a certain quality and essence in male, but He put another quality and essence in females.
Mm.
And without that, we're missing a huge part of Him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you can be old school where it's like a man can be the head of the household, but you have to come to the understanding is that your woman should be walking beside you. Whereas in the past, it's like women's supposed to be behind you. That's the reason we had so many challenges, is because we had God walking behind us instead of walking beside us and with us. But when you move Him to the forefront, things begin to progress so much better when you have a real understanding of who you're dealing with.
I'm telling you, because we had ego out front, had understanding in the back,
putting God in the back.
No, that's real.
And I'd like to piggyback off of that. Women are the epicenter of it all, because when it comes down to it, if you tell a woman something, she's going to tell her son, then she's going to tell her brother, and then she's going to tell her uncle, and then she's going to tell her dad, and then she's going to tell her husband. And that little seed she has planted in each and every person. And then the husband is going to go tell his friends. Then the father is going to go reiterate it in his sons and in his brothers. And in that one person that you told, that woman has planted that seed into 50 different people. So you tell a woman, and she's going to go ahead and she's going to just produce it into everything and everybody. So that's just the thing. And even then, a lot of people say, oh, the man is the head of the house. But have you seen that woman when everybody goes to sleep? She goes and she does this, and then she goes and she does that. And all everybody sees is that it's getting done. They don't see us praying. They don't see us. Sometimes the only way that we bridge that gap is that we lay down and we reach out our arms and our legs. We're the bridge. And it's not to discredit anybody, but you gotta credit the person, and the person is the woman.
And that goes back to the attributes you're talking about. See, it's in that woman, and we don't know the work that goes behind that to get a lot of this, a lot of the things done that we talk about. That's why the scriptures say, you know, son, listen to the instructions of your mother. You know, and it says that, like you said, you know, when you speaking, you know, wisdom and you know, you're giving understanding out. That's something that we need, you know, and it's wonderful that we have our women, and we can't thank you all enough for all the contribution that you have given to us, you know, as a people, that allow for us to achieve greatness we have achieved that. I mean, that today. So thank you. And thank you, Miss Finance Pro, for coming on.
It was always a pleasure. And I want people to also just think about what we are sharing and what we're talking about. All of these changes have taken place within our lifetime.
Yes.
We're not going back into history. It's not that far back. So this is your grandma that couldn't own a home. Or for some of us, this is your mother that couldn't own a home. This is your mother that, you know, could not have a bank account, which often meant if she was in an abusive marriage, there was no exit strategy, because people like to always talk about, you know, women aren't the same as, you know, the women before. Well, it's because those women before did not get a chance to have a backbone for themselves. There was no way out. So if they were in an abusive situation, all they could do is just figure out how they would survive.
Mm-hmm.
So I want us to just remember that we're not going that far back in history. It's just yesterday that we got our rights. And that's why it does need to be spoken up about.
All right, so we got 5 minutes time for us to get ready to close out. Thank you for that, Miss Finance Pro. Like always, the wisdom that you bring, the insight, is much needed. And
Imagine a world without a Miss Finance Pro, because in the 70s, women couldn't have a bank account,
right,
so we wouldn't have a Miss Finance Pro. Wouldn't exist.
right.
We'd be in trouble.
How illogical is that?
We would be at a disservice on so many different levels.
Yes, indeed. Brother Yikazika, I'll start with you. You can go ahead and start signing off, my brother.
Yes. Again, I want the audience to be able to take in that autism is something that's, unfortunately growing in our communities. So it definitely behooves you, as the sister Lala did, to start doing some research and get a better understanding of how to deal with this situation. And as she says, you have to begin to develop, if you don't already have these qualities of tolerance, of forbearance, of patience, and understanding. And make sure you come with gallons and gallons of it, because you're going to need it over, what could be a lifetime work. And also honor the women that you know personally in your life that's making a difference, not only in your life, but in the life. As she said, if you educate a woman, you're doing multiplication, because that wisdom that she espouses, she's going to be able to put it in multiple fields. So, and everybody loves to see things multiply, because that means it's moving at a faster rate than you would if you just add. So give the women their glory for this particular month and make it a daily practice, because they're putting in the work on a daily basis.
All right, brother. And Lala, I'm gonna go to you before I go to the minister. Anything you want to leave with the audience about the conversation that we had today about autism?
People who are not dealing with it one-on-one, be understanding, be kind. People who are dealing with it one-on-one, give yourself grace, because many are called and even few answer. This is your blessing, and you need to treat it as such.
All right, minister.
Yo, I just personally want to thank Lala for coming out and being able to share her story and her journey with Kyrie and what his journey is, and that it can just be inspiring to someone who may be in that position and don't know where to turn. Well, guess what? Here's a vessel that made it. You can do it. And now you got something to look forward to.
All right. And as we bring this conversation to a close, I want to leave you with this thought. Our differences are not limitations. They are the colors that paint the masterpiece of who we are. Every challenge, every unique trait, and every perspective adds value to the world around us. Just like no two puzzle pieces are the same, each of us hold a special place in this bigger picture. So let's choose to celebrate those differences in our lives, our own lives, in our families, and in our community. Because true strength is found in what differences or what makes us different or unique. I want to thank you, Lala, for coming on to the show. I want to thank the listening audience for today. If this episode spoke to you, I encourage you to share it with someone who might need a reminder that their uniqueness is a gift. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment on this channel. So with that being said, I want to say peace and prosperity. And from Live Talk, we are out. Thank you for watching Live Talk. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Live Talk Orlando. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit on the notification button so that you can see more videos like this. If you want to join the show, email us at livetalkorl@gmail.com. You can also follow the host on Facebook and Instagram at Author Jeremiah. And visit the website, thenoystore.com, to pick up your copy of The Spiritual Significance of a Name.